Well, welcome to 2026. Listen, I am so excited about unlimited possibilities. I know you're excited about unlimited possibilities. We have phenomenal speakers that's with us on today. And today we're talking about leading beyond limits. We're going to dissect what that means. But before we do that, I want to hype up for a few moments about a business conference that's coming up. I'm pretty sure if you're on my social media pages, you have seen something that says Unlocked 2026. It's all going down on Saturday, April the 18th. We kick off at 11 a.m. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. We have phenomenal speakers, we have phenomenal workshop facilitators, and we have an interview lounge, we have a wellness lounge. This is going to be something where when you come into that space, you're going to leave not only with additional knowledge, not only with connections, you're going to leave unlocked. And because our whole thing is that you're not going to be limited this year. Sometimes we walk into seasons of our life and we feel that we're restricted. We feel that there are some barriers. But I want to tell everybody right now that you're walking into the season of no restrictions. You're walking into the season where you're going to lead beyond limits. And on today, as we go through this conversation, we're going to be dissecting that, and we're going to pass the ball first to Miss Tara. She's going to introduce herself, the name of her company. We're going to round robin this, and we're going to go to each person. Queen, please take it away.
Thank you. Woo, Catherine. I'm feeling like I'm on the treadmill. I feel like I'm climbing the mountain right now. So thank you so much, as always, per usual, for this platform to share. I am Tara Whitney-Rison. I'm CEO and founder of Radical Refill. So we are an artistic wellness company. I am a certified health coach. I'm a nutrition specialist. I'm an actor, an artist, and I am just really excited to be here. And, really what a Radical Refill is we are a radically well and radically uplifting company to those who are high performing people. And we serve high performing people. We help to liberate them. We help them to break free from burnout and really find their way back to themselves. And what that looks like is serving them through transformative coaching, serving them through transformative consulting and curated creative wellness experiences that optimize their health, that not just add years to their life, but add life to their years. And so we're excited about what's happening this coming year, 2026. The wellness playbill that we have will be out soon, but please look forward to that. But in the meantime, we're excited to share and talk about leading beyond the limits today.
Absolutely. Wow. Listen, we're going to be coming back to learn more about all the goodies that your company is putting out this year. But right now, we're going to pass the virtual mic on to Ted. Ted, feel free to share about who you are, your company, and services you offer.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ted Wright. I am the CVO, which is the Chief Vision Officer for Wright Business Consulting. We are a boutique business firm that actually does business advisory services. We do fractional as well as relationship building and connecting people to people. So I'm just excited to be able to be a part of this platform, and looking forward to April and being able to help some folks get connected and be able to meet some other people. So I'm just excited to be a part of the panel and look forward to the discussion.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Ted is definitely one of my mentors. He is a visionary. So thank you so much for being on this panel, as well as one of our speakers for the Unlock 2026 Business Conference. And now we're going to pass the virtual mic on to Dr. Leroy. Sir, please share who you are, the name of your business, and just a snippet about what you offer.
Sure. Good morning. Good morning. It's your boy, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., the Impact Builder. I am the President CEO of JNF Enterprises, LLC. And what we simply do is we assist authors, entrepreneurs, leaders, and organizations to be able to navigate and be able to take their craft to and elevate to the next level. And we do that through several different ways, but a major way is through our four pillars of sustainability. That's your mindset, principles, processes, and systems. When you have those in place, you create a legacy, not only a legacy, but sustainability.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you for your support for well over 10 years now. So thank you for that. I'm about to pass the virtual mic on to Miss Morgan. How are you? Please share.
Hello, hello, everybody. My name is Morgan Stroud, also known as the coolest chick in marketing. I'm taking my tagline right back. I haven't
Okay.
used it in over 2 years. I'm taking it back. I am the coolest chick in marketing. I am the founder and CEO of Simplified VA, which is a marketing and project management boutique to small business owners and nonprofits. And I offer a little bit of everything from building your strategy to executing your marketing plan. And I'm just excited for April because I'm trying to be the help I needed when I started my own business.
That's powerful right there. And I think many of us can attest to that. A lot of times we may not have had that person or persons or that guidance that we needed. And this is what we're creating, collectively, but also as you heard each person introduce themselves, that's what they're doing daily for the entrepreneurs in the community. Now I know you see this big old puzzle piece on the screen. Why she got this puzzle piece on the screen? Well, anybody know I love the puzzle piece because it's symbolic that we are all interconnected together. Now you normally see an orange puzzle piece. This one is a little different. As you can look at it, you see the mountains, you see the skyline, you see the sun bursting through. Today's topic is leading beyond limits. As we engage in this conversation and as you look at this imagery, I want you to see yourself going beyond limits. Sometimes you put limits on yourself. Sometimes it's gatekeepers that want to put limits on you. Sometimes it's other individuals that may not believe in the vision, not because they just don't want to believe in the vision. Maybe they don't feel they can go that far and they want to put that limit on you. Whatever the case may be, we're tearing down those walls of limitation, right? So as we talk, as you see this image, know that the sun is rising in your favor and you're going to lead beyond limits. So we're going to kick this off. So the whole topic is leading beyond limits, the mindset shift every visionary needs in 2026. We are visionaries. So for those that may not know, Strategic Collaboration Network is based in the DMV area. We curate business events, seminars, and of course, the conference that's coming up in April. But really, we connect individuals together, not just only to do business, but also to build up the community. For anyone that may or may not know, my background is as a community organizer. So before I delved into consulting and building a for-profit business, my heartbeat has always been entrenched in the community. And so I believe that's why I'm really attracted to the puzzle piece. And that's why it's a centralized focus with SCN. So with that being said, Ms. Tara, when we think about leading beyond limits, what does that mean to you at the stage you are in your business?
Yeah, it's such a great question. There's two things that popped in my mind. I think one is being bold and one is being brave, because you don't always know the direction. Sometimes you're not always clear. And when you take a leap of faith to get started and start creating something, that's just what you do, is you're making bold choices and you're doing that with a level of courage. My mantra this season is capacity is the new currency. So it's making those bold choices. But I think I heard the word sustainability already. And that I think those two things have to go together. We can be bold and we can make bold choices in our business, but they have to be sustainable. So to lead beyond limits means I'm operating not in survival mode, but in a mode of sustainability that helps me carry beyond where I want to go and where I'm intending to.
That's powerful, powerful. Ted, what would your follow-up to that be?
I didn't catch you. Did you ask me, Catherine?
Yes. What would your follow-up to that same question, leading beyond limits, in this phase that you're in your business? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, my thoughts on that is basically I think that limits speak to boundaries. And so for me, I don't want to be limited by what people can see right now or see in their minds. I believe that leaders that are going to be successful in the future are going to be able to do the things that have not been created yet. And just as the young lady said earlier, Tara, about being bold, which means there are going to be a lot of people that are going to say no. But today's leaders must lead beyond what people say that are impossibilities. So that's what I take away from that and how I would speak to that question. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's so powerful. Dr. Leroy, and then we're going to come to Morgan. Dr. Leroy, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, when I think about it, I actually broke down those three words, which you said, leading beyond limits. In order to be a leader, being a leader means that you stand above everyone else and you don't think like everyone else. So you have to see the vision before everybody else sees the vision. You have to know where you're going before everybody else knows where they're going. And if you put limits on yourself, then those that you're leading will put limits on themselves beyond is just that, seeing beyond where you are today. It might look impossible, it might look insurmountable, but you see what's beyond what's in front of you or what may be an obstacle, challenge, and all of those things. And then limits is just you take the limits off. You don't allow yourself to be constrained. And I think we use the word boundaries. We don't allow ourselves to have boundaries when it comes to what we believe that we can achieve. Everything starts with our belief and our mindset. The Here's the great thing about our minds. What we believe and what the mind focuses on, it will work towards. So if we don't put limits on what we see and what we work for, what we work towards, our mind will work towards it. It doesn't the mind can't won't comprehend not being able to achieve it because it's been placed in the mind, the belief of being able to accomplish what it is that we want to accomplish. So that's what I see when I see leading beyond limits.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so key. And I'll share my thoughts. Let's pass the virtual mic on to Morgan. What are your thoughts about that?
The first thing that came to my mind was boundless. And when I'm in the leadership mode, I'm in a mindset of serving. So when I'm trying to serve others and help them get to where they need to go, there's literally it's boundless. There are no limits, and I'm going to lead them as far as I can take them.
Mm-hmm.
That's good leadership to me. I'm going to take them as far as we can go, and if I don't have it, I'm going to take it to somebody else because I know we can go further and further and further. It's never ending.
I think you bring up a good point because when we're building a business, we have our core niche services that we can offer. But you bring up a very valid point. If we don't have the capacity for something, well, that's not our skill set. We need to pass the baton to whomever does have that skill set. So that way, no one is hitting that ceiling and not able to go further. And so again, for those that's watching this, as you see this imagery in the middle, again, it's mountains, it is the skyline, it is the sun. We want you to think, and as you look at this visually, going beyond your limits. But with that being said, as Morgan pointed out, if you do hit a limit of your capacity, then that's where partnership comes into play, right? That's when you pass the baton so the cycle can continue to grow, right? Individuals still can get the services that they need. And that builds true community, right? Because if we try to say we can do it all, we can provide all the service. I know I'm one. I will say in a heartbeat, this is my core. This is what I do. Strategic planning, organizational development. That is my sweet spot. That is my strength. What's not my strength, I'm going to pass the baton. Thank you for pointing it out because that's very, very key and vital. We want to welcome Quintel to this conversation. Please introduce yourself, your business, and then chime in on the conversation. What does leading beyond limits mean to you? Take it away.
Well, thank you. My name is Quintel Harcun. I'm the founder of Green Book Digital, where I help business owners and founders look good online so they can get more awareness, more clients, and more profit. And so I have a podcast where I interview entrepreneurs, business owners, founders, and we talk about their business strategies. We also talk about their leadership, how they able to grow, how they able to lead their customers to the results that they want. They're also their employees. And so I think that leading beyond limits means one, leading by example, because if you have a business, no one's going to want to show up. No one's going to want to show up and work for you if they don't see you doing it. Okay, so you have to set a standard. And anytime you let something slide that's beneath that standard, you just set a new standard. So that's why you got to go beyond limits in leadership. And it also just looks like full autonomy. When you don't know how to do something well, you have to have enough agency to say, this is out of my range. I'm gonna go figure this out or pass it off to someone else who can do this better than me. Basically, you hire better employees or you outsource to some kind of contractor, or when you just stuck and maybe you can't afford or you just don't have the resources and nobody's in your network to get a thing done, then going beyond the limit just means being resourceful, not waiting for resources, but being resourceful and going to make it happen and make it work so that you can get the results that you want.
You bring up a couple of great points about setting the standard. So when we talk about leading beyond limits, we have to set the standard as the CEO, as the founder of an organization, as the face of your company, setting that standard so individuals that's watching you, that look up to you, know that they have something to aspire to that's realistic also. And then you brought up, also echoing what Ms. Morgan was talking about, how if it's something out of your wheelhouse, being able to pass that baton on. But I really like that part about setting the standards. So when we talk about leading beyond limits, setting those standards is so key, right? And that connects back to your brand. If somebody were to think about your name, your personal name, or your business name, what brand image would pop up? So when we're talking about leading beyond limits, this touches on so many points of our business, right? But it touches on us as the leader of the company as well. And so for those that's watching this episode and listening to the conversation, I want you to ask yourself right now, what does leading beyond limits look like to you? What does that mean to you? Do you need to do a SWOT analysis to determine your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats in your business? Do we need to go back to square one? Do we need to get the dust off the business plan? What do we need to do, right? I want to go to the next question. And this topic is dealing with mindset. And y'all already have started talking about leadership. The question is, how has your leadership mindset shifted over the last 2 to 3 years, especially in response to economic, cultural, or industry change? And then what separates leaders who will thrive in 2026 from those who will struggle to keep up? Who would like to kick that part of the conversation?
Oh, man.
Morgan, are you taking it first? Okay.
I'm going to jump in because
Okay.
you know what? I've been in business for over 10 years. And just 2-3 years ago, we were in COVID. And I was still working my day job. And I was busting out like 90 hours a check. And then one day I said, you know what, I got a business. I'm going to focus on my business. And when I got back into my business and I realized that I let a lot of things go because I was dependent on my job, my part-time job. And my skill set changed, my mindsets changed, the things that I was doing daily changed, because I said, this is what's going to support me and my family and everything that I do moving forward. And so everything changed for me. I said I had to get in the mindset of I cannot do it all. I need to collaborate with others. I need to build a team. I need to know what I'm going to do in the morning, what I'm going to do in the afternoon, the evening. What are the key steps I need to take that will push my business forward? Anything that I can delegate out, I need to start delegating. I can't do all of this. My mindset took a complete change because as of this year, so much has changed in 1 year of this presidential leadership that I feel like I need to help more people. That's where my mindset is now. I need to help more people. And so in order for me to help more people, I need to lead them to where all the resources are, where all the tech is, how to use their AI well. We can grow together, but somebody needs to take the reins and show them where everything is. And that's where my mindset is now.
Powerful. And just want to insert, Ms. Morgan is one of our workshop facilitators on Saturday, April 18th. At the Unlock 2026 Business Conference. Again, she's strong when it comes to project management and how to break down those processes. So you're in for a treat for those that enroll in her particular workshop. Again, I want to have someone else to chime in. Who was about to? Yes.
I was going to chime in one more thing. I didn't announce what my my workshop was. Staying on the legal side of marketing. It's big because there's a lot of things that we're doing that we're not supposed to be doing in marketing.
Making sure our checks and balances are right. That's awesome.
Yes,
that's awesome.
Absolutely.
It's definitely needed. Again, going back to the topic, and I don't know if that was you, Dr. Leroy, was about to speak or not, but again, how has your leadership mindset shifted over the past 2 to 3 years, especially in response to economic, cultural, or industry changes? You don't have to answer all three. You can pick one that you really connect with. And then part 2 says, what separates leaders who will thrive in 2026 from those who will struggle to keep up?
I'll jump in here if you don't mind.
Yeah, Ted, take it away.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in reference to the how my mindset has shifted, obviously she mentioned COVID earlier. Uh, Things kind of changed the way we do business, and so the key word for me was I had to learn the word pivot. And
Mm,
pivot meaning I have to make adjustments to what I'm doing to be able to still do the same thing, but maybe do it a different way. So I
mhm,
became hyper focused on collaboration and
mhm,
partnerships. Why? Because I watched other cultures around the African American community that were around the African American community
mhm,
demonstrate this all the time, but
mhm,
people weren't paying attention. And so I moved. I started to move from teaching my business consultants and individuals that I actually work with, my clients, to move away from a silo mentality to partnerships. And
mm,
you need to develop a mindset of becoming a servant to other people. In
mhm,
reference to the leaders that will thrive and those who will struggle to keep up in 2026, the leaders that are still selfish, self-seeking, and are ego-driven, those individuals will struggle because they are doing some of the three C's: comparing themselves to others, competing, and complaining. I don't
mm,
do the three C's. So I want to
mhm,
create thriving leaders who will collaborate, congratulate, and create. And this
mm.
focus is going to be not only on my own personal brand, but the clients that I work with to think the same way. So thank you.
Absolutely. And again, Mr. Ted, he is one of our speakers for April 18th. He brings a wealth of knowledge and wisdom to the table. So we're honored to have him as well. Who would also like to speak on this specific topic?
Yeah, I'll go ahead, Catherine.
Mhm. Okay.
So here's what happened with me. Um, Pre-COVID, post-COVID. And it was a thing where I've learned, and I learned this back in college because our dean drilled in us about, he called it the bell curve. And
Mm-hmm.
he talked about how what's going to make the difference between you and everybody else that's out there in the industry and in the world. He said those that are in front of the bell curve, on top of the bell curve, and behind the bell curve. Those that are behind the bell curve are those that just, hey, I'm just going along. I'm just doing what I need. I'm always 2 steps, 10 steps behind everybody else. Those that are on top of the bell curve are those that are just kind of surviving, kind of treading water, if you will. But those that are in front of the bell curve are those of us that anticipate and see things coming down. No, none of us saw COVID, but what there was were those that were doing some of the things that had to do with the hybrid, with being
Mm-hmm.
able to do things online, what we do, and doing those things that we need to adapt, adjust, and pivot, as we talked about. So it gave me the ability to be able to pivot and shift a little bit because I was already doing some of those things online, doing the online and everything like that. But it gave me the ability to kind of be above, or not above it, but ahead of those others and those that were doing the same thing that I was doing, the ability to be able to be in front of what everybody else was doing, where they had to play catch up. And so coming out of COVID, there was the thing, okay, we're pre-COVID, we're in COVID. Now, what are we going to have to do to adjust back? There was another adjustment. So what am I doing? What have I done in order to be able to adjust coming out of it? It's going to be a new way of seeing things. You had to kind of remarket yourself and get yourself back out there from a in-person standpoint. So those are the things that I was thinking about, even being in COVID and then coming out of COVID. And the one young lady mentioned now what we're going through with this new administration. That takes an adjustment as well. And being able to say, okay, how do I take my clients and get them to be able to understand where we are? How do we be able to get them to where they need to be and then create the sustainability that they need to be able to have, despite who's in office, to be able to have that sustainability? So my big thing has been about creating sustainability. And that's through the 4 pillars of sustainability. Because if you have those 4 pillars, mindset, principles, processes, and systems, it's not going to matter who it is, or you can make the adjustments according to those pillars to give you the ability to be able to move and shake and not be greatly impacted by others and what others are doing, or the environment that you're in. Because one thing that I learned from one of my mentors, Dr. Will, Principles don't change.
Mm.
Principles do not change. If you keep to your, I call them my PVS, my personal value system and my brand value system. If you keep to those 7 to 10 core principles, you'll be able to sustainability that you're trying to create or that you should create.
Yeah, and I'm going to tap on that. I'm going to give Quintel and Tara opportunity to speak, but I'm going to echo on something that you just said. Quintel.
So I'll answer the second part of the question first. Was about what it's going to take, and I think what it takes is being adaptable to whatever comes, like you all just mentioned, like COVID and things like that, but also like embracing technology and AI and finding a way to use it in your business so that you can better deliver whatever your services are, whatever your products are, consultations, all of those things. The more you can automate within your business allows you to be more personal, and whether it can be with your clients, your customers, or being more accessible in the way that works for your business to your employees. So using AI for those things. And I think if you don't, then the people who are using it and are finding better ways to be more efficient are going to start beating some other businesses out. And I'm not trying to be negative about it, but I think that's what's going to moving forward with businesses in 2026 and beyond. And as far as like my leadership, I think around culture within business for me had to change because I went from like having a staff of 5 or more people in my juice bar now to just working for myself. So I had to lead myself better. I had to lead in a different way. So I had to set the standard for my staff, but now it's just me. So if I slack off, all of it, like it collapses immediately. So just changing my mindset around what accountability looks like for me, and then like going out and finding accountability partners because I don't have anyone in my team that gives me like direct feedback or anything. So having to understand a different kind of culture, and now that I'm going to be going out to get like a new team, what does leadership look like now in this kind of business, which is more service based versus when I had a juice bar and did more products and things. So just changing my mindset around internal culture for business is important.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you, Tara.
Yeah, you know what I'm hearing a lot about when I hear the words like adapting and being able to pivot and be able to quote unquote see what's coming. No, we're not telekinesis. We don't have superpowers, but there's a difference between being reactive and proactive. And so if we're leaning towards proactive and we're understanding our capacity, understanding like real measures of leadership, which is knowing what our output is, versus our input. I think there's there's something that we can really look at in our own, businesses when we look at a ratio of output versus input. What are we putting out into the world? And what do we also need? What do we also need to sustain that? And the things that come at us economically, culturally, industry changes. If we get on the proactive side, like my dad was a football coach, so I keep thinking like offense, right? If we get on the offense, right, not always on the defense, we're able to kind of get steps ahead. I think that's what does that. And, I think leaders may be struggling to keep up. In my mindset is being able to have a level of self-regulation. That is a very underrated skill. We need to have a level of emotional intelligence to know what's happening with people, the people that we employ, the people that we serve, right? The people that we collaborate with. There is a lot of changes that are happening every single day. It's impacting every corner of the world. So we have to have a level of self-regulation. What is it that we need to be able to support ourselves in this ever-changing, ever-evolving, economy? Whether that's financially, it's through job, it's impact. I lost my job earlier last year. That was a huge change for me. I had just had a baby, and to be sort of thrust full time in business, I had to figure things out. And so I'm as I've gotten my footing, I'm like, well, how do I do what I need for myself in order to produce that output? So I think that self-regulation skill for us as leaders and having a level of emotional intelligence is really going to be vital for us as we continue to build and create.
Yeah, I think, what I'm hearing, you can't be oblivious, how you say the word, oblivious to what's going on around you, right? You can't be tone deaf. You gotta be plugged into what's going on, not only just what's going on in your business, but what's going on around in your community, what's going on around with your target audience. Because I think a lot of times when I think about this topic, it kind of also goes back to what Dr. Leroy was saying. What I got from that is stay ready so you don't have to get ready. You know, make sure that you are positioning yourself and you're thinking 10 steps ahead, not just because it's a crisis going on in the economy, not just because it's a whatever. Listen, when it comes to the politics thing, I don't let that shape me and what's going on with my business. I can't control what the government is going to do. I mean, you know, I can't. So, but what I can control is how I manage my business. I can control my personal brand. I can control how I talk to my clients. I can control how they feel when they've left my presence, right? I can control the tangibles on how I'm delivering my service to people and the time frame that I'm delivering my service. Because I think sometimes we blame other external things as to why businesses can't grow. Now there are always going to be bumps in the road. I'm not saying that that's not a real factor, but there are certain factors that we can control to minimize certain things. And I'm always doing checks and balances on myself. I think as a leader, for me, for those that's going to be separated from those that struggle to keep up, is doing a checkup, on self, right? And I think it kind of goes back to even some things that Ted was talking about, is making sure how we're projecting. How are we projecting? I think a lot of times that's not talked about enough as a leader, as an entrepreneur. What are we projecting? A lot of times I hear people say, well, people are not utilizing my services. People aren't following back up with me. People aren't. And it's like a series of things. And then I always say, well, we got to take a step back. I have to evaluate myself. If I didn't get that follow-up call, if I didn't get that follow-up email, why? Right? What is the core reason why? And self-assessment is so key and is so important for us to make sure we're constantly growing. And what are we reading? What are we feeding our mind? That's another thing with that question. What separates leaders who's going to thrive? To me, is what we're feeding our mind. What are we watching? What are we taking in? Right? There's a preacher that I listen to, and I'm not going to dive into the name of the preacher because this is, again, just a business conversation, but it's something I extracted from this preacher. And he has said, no one will continue to come hear my sermons if I don't keep feeding my mind to make sure I'm pouring out something new. If we as leaders, as we as business owners are not growing, people can tell that we're not growing. People can tell. If we're always saying the same line, and I'm not talking about a tagline, I'm not talking about our mantra. I'm just saying if we're always regurgitating the same information, people can tell if we're not growing, if we're not building, right? So what's going to separate is what we're feeding our mind. That's one of my things. And so we have to keep feeding our mind. We have to continue to go beyond the limits and not just only, oh, well, we got this degree, we got this certificate, I'm good. I'm not saying that you have to go back to school, but you can definitely pick up a new book and feed your mind. You can definitely take an online class and feed your mind. To me, I think education is what's going to separate us. And again, I'm not talking about it has to be a 4-year college institution, but feeding your mind to me is what's going to be one of the things that separate. Vision, execution, and growth. This is another segment of the conversation. How do you balance big vision with daily execution without losing momentum or being burnt out? Well, we know somebody is very passionate about that burnt out topic. I know she's going to speak on this. Then it goes on to say, what systems, habits, or mental frameworks help you stay focused when everything feels urgent? Again, how do you balance the big vision with daily execution? Just chime in on that part.
I'll just hop in, but I think when I first started out, especially as a young professional, living in the world, there's this unspoken mindset that we take on about doing more to prove our worth. We want to say yes to everything. We want to take every contract, every gig, we want to just show up. And there's nothing wrong with showing up. But I think when we're doing it as a means to prove ourselves, as opposed to, setting an intention and being able to follow through with that, it's a different, right? And that is actually what causes burnout. There's an emotional burnout that happens when you feel like you're showing up all the time to prove yourself. Mm-hmm. So I'm always say, we have to lead from our overflow. We have to pour into ourselves enough. We have to create the sustainable practices enough, create your healthy hustle. right? The radical recipe, as I say, that you need for your cognitive, your spiritual, your mental, and physical reserves. We have to pour into those resources that we have enough to pour out. You know, we're moving out of this. There's always these debates around hustle culture, but I think that when we reframe hustle and put the word healthy attached to it, when we put the word intentionality and we attach it to it, and we allow ourselves to pour back in, right? Pour back into ourselves, refill our own cups, then we're moving through our hustle with intentionality. And that is what creates an overflow, because we want to pour from that excess. We don't want to run on E. And that isn't a sustainable, those are not sustainable practices to say that, well, I'm going to stay up all night. I'm going to take every call. I'm going to attend every meeting, every event, every professional development. And I'm going to make sure that I am on 100. That is by January 31st, we're like, I'm done. And we don't want to be done. We're just getting started, right? We got to be able to continue to create. So I always say, really decide and learn, listen to how your body is communicating and create that healthy hustle, because that is what allows us to stay focused. Those are the mental frameworks that we need to create to sustain ourselves throughout the rest of this year.
Yeah. Who want to chime in next?
I'm going to chime in
I'll say
with.
this.
We'll go to Morgan,
No,
then
go ahead.
Dr. Lee.
So I was going to say, with everything that's going on with our day to day, what sets my priorities is this going to be busy work or is this going to be productive work? Because the day is going to be busy no matter what. I need to be productive and get things done. And then the other part of that was, in my big age, I've learned that overstimulation kills productivity. I can't get nothing done if I've got too much going on. I need to abide by my schedule, abide by my calendar. And if it isn't an event or an outing or a meeting that does not need to take place, or I don't need to be present because it's not productive, I need to remove myself. Take myself right out of that, because nothing's going to get done. And then meetings that go on and on, 10 minutes. 10 minutes, get it all out. 10 minutes. Anything after that is not important. I need to be productive and keep moving. So I know that I can schedule my rest in between there to refill when I need to.
Absolutely. We're going to go to Dr. Leroy, Ted, and then Quintel. Dr. Leroy.
Yeah, here's the thing that I've learned about successful people, highly successful people. Every one of them has a routine, has a daily routine, and they stick to that daily routine. They do it over and over and over again. While there may be, things that come up and you got to make adjustments, but for the main thing, they're doing those certain things at certain times every single day. They're consistent at doing those things every single day. And anything that is outside of that parameters becomes not a priority. But their main priority is getting done those things that they need to get done. So I would say to any leader, you need to have a routine. Like my routine in the morning is to do my prayer, meditation, journaling, and exercising. Those are that starts my day off. And meditation. There's nothing that keeps me from doing that unless I absolutely have something else that comes up that keeps me out of the way. Then I get into dealing with what are my revenue generating activities that I am doing for that day. And if it's not generating revenue, it's not a priority for me. And that becomes the routine that you get into, that I've gotten into, so that I am maximizing my productivity and that I'm maximizing my days. Am I perfect at it? Absolutely not. But I know that I have that routine in place, and the more consistent that I am, the more committed that I am to it, the better the results that I get on a daily. And here's the last thing. One of my I ams is that I am building my legacy daily. What am I doing on a daily basis that builds my legacy that I want to be able to leave behind? When you have those things in order, I think that's how you eliminate the burnout.
Ted?
Doc, you need to stop looking at my notes, man. I think Doc over here, he's all up in my bag, man. He all on everything I was getting ready to say. Listen, Doc, you talked about the daily discipline, being able to do the same thing consistently on an ongoing basis. Those things are hard to do. It takes 21 days to develop a habit, and the habits, whether they're good or bad, they're going to lead you to one extreme or the other. And so my daily discipline, just personally, is similar to Doc's. I actually do a men's scripture reading call I've been doing for 8 years. It's just all brothers, nothing against the women, but we need to have a safe space to talk and get our heads right so that before the world comes after us, we understand what kind of who we are and who we belong to. So that helps me for the burnout, because everything I'm doing out of my love for Christ, for everybody. So with that in mind up front, all the other stuff is just secondary minutia, so I don't get burned out from it, because I understand it's part of the process. But also, I've spent a lot of time connecting and collaborating with other people who have answers to the problems that I have. So I don't sit around spending a lot of time trying to figure it out. God has already given me the resources and people around me to just call and ask a question and ask for help. And I found that to be taking a lot of weight off of me, and don't feel like I have to do everything. And I got to take some time, not a lot, because you get into that gloating thing, so that I have to look back to see what progress have I made. It may not be the progress that I intended, but I have to be able to look at my wins, my losses, and then be able to do some course correcting as I move forward. So that's kind of what my daily execution is, and to stay away from the burnout.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. Quintel?
Yeah, so I would agree with everybody here about having a routine. That's super helpful. I think all of the most successful people have a routine. Doesn't matter how long or short it is. There's a psychology in sports about going through routine. It turns your mind off, so you can, and then like kind of activates a different part of your brain. So the routine puts things in like an automatic flow, and then you can like go out and perform whatever your performance is. One thing I would add is that I track a lot of things, and not in an OCD type of way, but I track leading indicators. That's how I know I'm doing the right thing. Like, we have big visions, we have outcomes that we want, but we're not in control of all of those things. So I make it as small as possible, and I just track all of the small things in my revenue generating activities. Well, what does that look like for the day? Is it sending messages? Is it sending emails? Is it actually client fulfillment? So I just track a lot. I have a database of things that I track, and I keep a journal. I think most people need to keep journals. I think I write by hand a lot, because it allows you to process your thoughts better. Writing is just clearer thinking. So I practice writing exercises, and I track like a lot of things. So I think that's help from my health to business. And even when if I don't talk to my mother in too long, then I gotta track that too. Like, Ma, what are you doing? You need to talk to me. That way I can stay in touch with the things that fill me. That's another thing I track. I write down energizing activities. So there are energizing activities inside my business, and that prevents burnout. Because if you can allocate some time to do the thing that you actually like, you won't start feeling like you hate the work of your business, right? The parts that we don't really enjoy.
I love the whole tracking concept, because now you can monitor what areas you need to improve on, what areas that may be challenged. And for those that may not know, Quintel, he's also one of our workshop facilitators for April 18th, Unlock 2026 Business Conference. And I know that tracking mechanism, hopefully that's a part of the training, because I think that's something tangible that if someone is trying to figure out, like, what do I do around growth of my business, to give them that type of tool would be helpful. So just kind of putting a plug, hopefully that's somewhere in the presentation. And so for those of you that have been listening to this conversation, we have a little bit of time, about 15 more minutes to go, but I want you to recenter your eyes on this puzzle piece once again. We've been talking about a lot of things, and I want you to see yourself climbing a mountain, but not in a struggle way. You're climbing the mountain because now you're seeing yourself getting over that peak, right? That maybe one point of your life you may have felt there was limitations around you, but as you look at this imagery on this screen, you see yourself rising, you see the horizon, you see the sky opening up for you. This is the season that as you continue to walk in your purpose, there's going to be individuals. I truly believe when you walk in your purpose, individuals that's supposed to be connected to you, you're going to cross pathways, and then you're going to, as they say, iron sharpens iron. You're going to be able to strengthen one another, and where one may be weak in one area, as you're walking up that mountain, right? Everybody, both parties is going to strengthen each other to get to that peak of that mountain. And as we talk about this topic, it talked about the big vision, right? For visionaries, sometimes we wake up. I know I do. I just wake up with ideas that come to my mind, but you can't manifest everything all in that moment. One of the things that's super helpful for me in my phone, well, we all have a note section in the phone. I will map out my 7 days, and I'll map it out in terms of, okay, what do I need to do on Monday, Tuesday, and so forth. Dr. Cindy Trim had this saying, and it stuck with me. And she said, give your day an assignment. And this is in alignment with everything everybody's already been saying. Give your day an assignment, right? And when you give your day an assignment, it gives you direction, right? So that's one of the tangible things that I do. I'll put in my notes section Monday, Tuesday, and so forth. And I'll build in my rest time as well. Sunday is my day where I definitely try to do my rest. And then what I like to do also is break my year down by the quarters, quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4. What do I want to manifest by the end of first quarter, second quarter, and so forth, right? That helps me take that big vision, break it down into 7-day increments, and then I break it down into quarterly increments. So think about what works for you. There's no cookie cutter, like what works for me may not work for you. But I think when you get that quiet time to yourself, you'll figure out what works for you. This has been a juicy conversation. We got some more topics we hitting up. The next one is innovation, adaptability, and influence. In 2026, what skills do you believe leaders must intentionally develop that weren't as critical 5 years ago? Now, when we think about 5 years ago, that was we think about pandemic time, I guess, right? So, because we're in 2026, that would have been put us in 2021. Yeah, we've been right in the thick of it. So what are your thoughts? It says, what type of skill sets do we need to have now that we may not have needed to have 5 years ago? Dr. Leroy.
Yeah, you must have, if you're going to be a leader, you must have the skill set of using AI. It is a tool. It is a tool that to me, that was created to shrink the time that we are able to do things. Whereas it took us, let's say, it took us a year, 6 months to, however long to write a book. That gets shrunk down when you use AI. As a leader, when you're looking at how you want to, your mission, your vision, the identity that you're creating as a leader, your purpose as you're creating a leader, AI will give you the ability to enhance that. And I think that's one of the biggest innovations that has to be embraced by a leader. If you're going to be even more, if you're going to elevate, because that's my word for 2026 is elevate, prepare to elevate in 2026. If you're going to elevate, if you're going to upgrade how it is and who it is and what it is that you do, you must be willing to embrace those different aspects of AI and the technology that we're going into and that we're utilizing now versus 5 years ago.
And then the cool thing is, I know it. I was just talking to a colleague of mine at some of the community colleges. They have complimentary classes or some free classes or online classes that you can take because everyone's learning curve. Like I had to learn Chapman. I know that's not the only one. There's many things out there, but that was a learning curve for me. So whatever your learning curve might be, don't be intimidated. Sign up for a course. I was talking to a particular individual and they was having some challenges in some areas. And I said, hey, no worries, just go take a class. Oh no, I'm not going to take a class. I think it made that person feel less than, but I just wanted to dispel that myth. If we don't know something, it doesn't mean you're less than. That means it's a growth opportunity. It is a growth opportunity, right? Now, I forgot to mention part B of that question. Said, how do you stay adaptable without constantly chasing trends or losing your core values? And Dr. Leroy, you mentioned something about that earlier, about staying to your core. But that was part B of that part of that conversation.
Yeah, you stick to your principles. If you
I'd
stick
like
to
to
those,
jump in and share a few words.
Absolutely. Yes, Ted,
Yeah,
take
I
it
think
away.
a leader must be intentionally something that they need to do since the previous 5 years. I think you have to be much more flexible, and I think you have to if you're hiring people or you have people or staff that's working with you, you have to develop a more family centered approach to how you work with people. This screen right here, I think leaders are going to have to become just as effective as they were in person, speaking to people and leading their teams, but they have to be just as effective in this environment because people are going to be working remotely. You have to be able to still to deliver the same message and still come across the same way. And so if you're not good at being able to do this thing here, it's going to be a challenge for folks where you didn't have to do that previously because everybody had to be in the office. So that's something I saw that's a skill that you definitely have to have going forward.
No, it's big. I mean, kind of piggyback on what you're saying, then we're going to pass the virtual mic. I remember I had sent an email out, as I'm always sending email updates, and I had got a response to one of my emails, and it was about a virtual event. It was said, I'm not coming to no virtual events. I'm tired of virtual events. All these virtual events are boring, is jaded. And I felt her pain. I mean, obviously she said she's always in these virtual events. So I responded back. I said, I'm so sorry that you've had other, like negative experiences. I said, but if you come to one of ours, I think you're going to feel a different energy, and to your point, people are jaded, so when you have to shift, because we got to shift in this digital, I mean, it's not turning back. It's just not. So then how do you shift? And if that's where that partnership comes into play. If you feel that maybe that's not your best suit, then tag team with somebody, tag team and make it playful, keep it energetic, and think about how you can insert things to make people want to stay engaged. I think engagement is a huge piece of that. But Ted, I don't know if you had anything else. Was that all you wanted to say? Okay, good. Who else wanted to chime in on this question? Again, it talks about innovation, adaptability, influence. In 2026, what skills do you believe leaders must intentionally develop that weren't as critical 5 years ago? And how do you stay adaptable without constantly chasing trends or losing your core values? Who want to take a stab at that?
I'll speak on
okay.
that.
Yeah.
Again, we got to be adaptable in using AI and technology. A skill skills you'll need to know is understanding how to prompt. And that goes back to communication. We all understand communication in business. But a skill that would be helpful is understanding how to simplify your request, because we are talking to machines all of the time, but the machine is it's built on language, like human language. So if we have a better understanding of how to talk to the machine, we also start to talk to other people that way. What I've noticed with a lot of business professionals is that they are so deep in the trenches of their business, they speak in a lot of jargon and things that only they know. They speak at level 10 for whatever their job is. And sometimes we got to simplify it, and it helps us better communicate. And so because we get so much information, we have everything on our timeline, or our customers calling us, or clients and things like that. The easier and the better we make ourselves the more we make ourselves easy to communicate with, the more we'll improve as a leader and as a business owner. So understanding, simplifying our message. Before you wanted to have high diction, and I apologize for the words in the background. Before you wanted to have like high diction and these great big bold messages, but now everybody has that. They see that all of the time. You have to make it simple, and that's a skill that we have to get be acquainted with now as far as communicating. So I think that might be helpful.
Yeah, no, I love the language. I love everything everyone's saying. Everything's all interconnected as we're passing the virtual mic on to each other. Language. Is our language adaptable? Is our language flexible, right? Are we speaking the language to our target audience? I'm just going to share it. I could just share a description, and probably the person's imagery will pop up. I mean, this person raps. He has a cereal. I saw him. He sings, I think, with country. He was cooking with Martha Stewart, if I'm not mistaken. This person is flexible. Now, in terms of person's personal perspective about this individual or not, they know how to stay adaptable. They know how to reinvent themselves. And I think a huge piece about reinventing yourself, it centers to language. It centers to how are we communicating, how are we delivering ourselves. And this is one that I'm still working on myself. I'm working on, making sure what I communicate is connected to my brand. What I communicate, is it connected to the larger audience that I'm trying to speak to, right? I think we all go through different levels of growth, even with how we communicate. And our comfort, and it's based really a lot in confidence, right? Are we confident about what we're saying? That's where it goes back to, are we feeding our mind? Because the more we feed our mind, we're going to be confident in speaking on what we're going to speak about. And again, I want to draw everybody's attention back to this puzzle piece in the center. I don't care where you are in your life. You may be in day 1 in your business, day 30, day 100, whatever, however long you've been in business, however short you've been in business. We're all still climbing the mountain, because sometimes we may size ourselves up and try to make it seem like, well, I'm not as far as someone else. I want to encourage everybody that's going to be watching this episode. We're all climbing the mountain. We just may be at different peak levels, but we're all climbing the mountain. And so as you look at this puzzle piece, you're my puzzle piece, I'm your puzzle piece, and every person on this platform, we're interconnected together. And we're climbing this mountain, inching towards the horizon, whatever that global big vision that you have for yourself, that's where we're inching toward, to connect to somebody else's puzzle piece. I think we had 2 more people that may wanted to chime in on this topic before we close out on our last couple of pieces. Was it Miss Tara? Did you get a chance to chime in, or Morgan?
I guess the only other thing I could add to that with all the AI is, I was helping a client with a resume, and 10 years ago it was hard skills. 5 years ago it was soft skills. Right now it's tech skills. See, and you need to see how your business and your principles align with new technology. Get versed with different technologies. Now, keep in mind though, everything ain't for everybody. So you have to find your fit that fits your business, so you can actually be productive with the technology that you're choosing to use to move forward with. And learn the ins and the outs of it, so you can use it properly to be productive for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Tara, and then I'm going to come into our closeout question of the hour, and then everyone will be able to plug their social media. Tara?
Yeah, we're saying a lot of the things in different ways in our own language, in our own communication, right? That's the beauty of it, is how we're talking is from our own lived experience and our own personal brands. And I'm just adding on. I think sometimes the things that I was thinking about when I heard these questions was very similar in shifting our language. We have to have the skill set to be able to be present enough in the room with people, the virtual room, in the real life room with people, our audience, our clients, and know what we're saying, know what we're speaking. And I say that strategize sustainability. I think it's so critical. And I think someone brought up the family, piece to that. And as people are dealing with different things in their lives, like that's just never going away. Life is always lifing. There's always something happening. And so we can either weather the storm and do that through strategizing sustainability, create that as the foundational part of your pyramid of your business. When you look at that, what is the ground on which you stand? What's the soil? And that's strategizing the way people can live in the world effectively. They can live in the world freely. We use the word, I think Ms. Warren used the word boundless. I want to be unbound as I build and create and live and serve other people. And so that strategic, workings on sustainability is going to be a really, I think, essential foundation as we continue to grow what we're building.
Absolutely. And as we wind down this segment, we just have our closeout question of the hour. And then as each person answers it, please share how people can get connected with you, socials, website, any point of contact you want to share. So our closeout question, as everyone already know, we have a business conference coming up on April 18th. So our closeout question is about unlocking our potential. If you could help business owners unlock one thing within themselves this year, what would it be? And then share a tip or a business or a quote as you answer this question. We're going to tuck all these remainder questions together. So again, how do you want to help unlock something in another business owner this year? Because we are unlocking our potential. Share any tips, final words, close out, book, a quote. Let's pass it on to Dr. Leroy.
Yeah, I'll start by assisting another aspiring entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, entrepreneur that's out there to become unlocked. It all begins and ends with your mindset. When we get our minds right, when we have our minds locked in on who it is that we want to be and what we want our brand to be and to represent, um, take these two things, your identity and your purpose. Understand what your brand identity is, understand what your brand purpose is. And you stick to those two core things in everything that you do. That will give you the ability to be able to get the results and be where it is that you want to be. It gives you the ability to be able to say yes to it, to the things that you need to say yes to. Give you the ability to be able to say no to those things that you do not want to be able to take on. If it doesn't align with those two things and the mindset that you have, easy yes, easy no. That's what I would say to them. Um, and what were the other things, Kathy? You had like a list.
No, you actually answered all of those in one. I don't know if you have a book or a quote that you want to highlight. You may want to highlight your
Okay.
own. And then how can one
Yeah.
get connected with you?
Yeah, I'll do a quote really quickly because I happened to see this, and it's Damon John that I just happened to see the other day, and it was on, on one of my the things that you scroll and stuff like that. But he said this. He said every brand should have 2 to 5 words that describe who you are. And I was like, oh man. And he gave the list. He gave Nike, just do it. He gave Apple, think different. He gave I forgot some of the other ones, but it was 4 tangible words that people will remember you by. So I would say that was the quote that caught me. 2 to 5 words that describe you, your business, your brand. If you can do that, it will give people the ability to be able to remember you very easily. And then my contact information, you can go to, I'm on all of the social medias. I'll give my link tree, which has all of them on it. And that's the linktr.ee/forward slash JNF Enterprises. And it'll bring up all of my information. It'll bring up all of my product services that I have, along with all of my social media that you be connected to. Go to my YouTube channel as well, which is my name, or JNF Enterprises, and you'll be able to see all of the digital content that I've created for leaders, entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs, to make us elevate in 2026.
Awesome. Quintel.
Sure. So I think that my quote, ain't no rules. It's really not any rules when it comes to business in life. Listen, God set all the rules, and if it's within the laws of physics, it can get done. So a lot of times we place limitations on ourselves, and the next thing I'll say is another quote I do think about a lot is that different is better than better. So if I'm going to be talking to a new entrepreneur, think about what differentiates you from anyone else doing something similar to what you do and what you see. It's okay to borrow ideas from people you admire or other businesses you want to be like, but always find where you can be different. And 2 more things. A lot of times when we have businesses or any entrepreneur coming up and starting a business, or even now, if we want to grow our business, sometimes we don't know how to go about doing it. So I call it the ABZ framework. So A is just where you are now, Z is where you want to go, and B is just the very next step. Like I talked about tracking, just break it down as small as you can and just do the next best thing that you can do. That's a part of being resourceful as well. Like, what's the next best thing I can do to get to Z? Z is like going in the right direction. Right? You don't know exactly where it's going to end up, but you want to go in the right direction. And
Awesome.
if anybody wants to better understand how they can start building out their brand and what some of the next best steps for you could be, I just created a scorecard where you can assess yourself as far as things that impact your branding, building trust, how you can develop assets within your business, build systems within your business, using the right tools and having the right experiences for your customers. And that's at founderbrandscore.greenbookdigital.co. So I'll put a link here too so you can copy, but that's founderbrandscore.greenbookdigital.co. So you can get a founder brand score there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ted. Ted.
Yes, I would be just in reference to the last question about what I would share with business owners that could give them one thing to unlock this year. It would be great to, one of the things I'm sharing with all my clients, they have to, before I can even work with them, clearly define who they are and what they do. We're going to work on that until we break that thing down like a fraction. Why? Because when I can find that out, I can find the right people for them. So I'm at that point, I'm going to ask them to write the vision so we can make it plain and be specific and succinct on what they want. And we're going to stay focused on the big picture. A quote that I give, and I'll share to all people because I believe in collaboration. A candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. In actuality, we get brighter as we burn together. And so I want to continue to build that type of mantra as we go into 2026 and beyond. If you want to get in contact with me, I am on LinkedIn. You can just look up Ted Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T, the third, Ted Wright, I. You should be able to find me there. If you want to email me, you can email me at ted@wrighttalk, WRIGHTALK.com. I look forward to being able to maybe possibly help you with any of your business development needs or connection needs to find people and opportunities for your business. Thank you, Catherine, for putting together this platform. And I love what you continue to do to help business owners to grow and be able to educate others.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Morgan and then Tara.
So I'm going to start with my ending quote, which I use daily, is what my grandfather told me: only what you do for Christ will last. So at the end of my day is what I did throughout my day, was it pleasing to God first? And everything that I do falls under that. Is what I did for my business pleasing to my business? We're out here unlocking 2026 and we're going to do all these things. But what I've done during my day, was it pleasing to my business? Was it pleasing to the things that I needed to get done? If it's personal, did the things that I do throughout my day pleasing to me and what I needed to get done for my soul? So I tell everybody, whether you're religious or not, whether you believe in God, the things that you did for yourself, was it pleasing? Because if not, you need to make a change. Now, y'all can find me on all the social internet, everywhere. Simplified VA, Morgan Stroud. You can hit the Google. I do have a newsletter that I'm putting out. I was doing it quarterly last year. It's coming out monthly this year because it's chock full of nothing but marketing goodness. No spam, no junk, no fluff, because I do not have to get the ramble, y'all.
All right. Miss Tara.
Nice. I'm so honored to learn today and be able to receive. And, one thing I think about is when you hear the word unlocked, which you've been using a lot, sometimes to unlock, you have to get locked in. You have to be able to see the vision. You got to be able to see it first. And, legacy building, it requires longevity. I'm not interested solely in short-term wins. Over time, we want to be able to those long-term wins. I want longevity. I want to be able to have a lasting impact. Even when I'm gone from this world and I transition, I want that impact to ripple. So I was inspired by hearing Dr. Leroy when he talked about the words for your brand. And so I thought about this over the course of the last month or so. And pour from your overflow. When we hear overflow, it should be overflow, not overextension. And that's what I want Radical Refill to be remembered. And that impact that I want to continue to pour into my company that lasts well beyond when I'm, gone from this world. And that's what I want to leave other leaders with, other business owners, other high performing people, is overflow, not overextension. And that's where we start.
Wow. Your potential was never locked. It's waiting on your courage. Unlocking potential starts the moment you stop shrinking. What you're becoming is bigger than what you've been through. You don't need permission to unlock what has already been placed on the inside of you. Potential unlocks where fear no longer holds the key. I want to encourage that business owner out there that you're building your business, but you're also managing family affairs. There's a lot of dynamics going on right now. I am the legal guardian of my brother who's autistic, and that in and of itself has been a monumental feat. So I want to encourage that person that's a caretaker, but you're also building your business at the same time. I want to encourage you that as you build your business simultaneously, as you're caring for your loved one, as you're pouring back into your loved one, it's going to open up another door for you to be able to serve in whatever that community might be. In this case, as I referenced my brother, it's the special needs community, right? And so I want to encourage that person that's saying, I'm building my business and I have family matters. I also have to make sure I'm staying on top of those affairs. I want to encourage you. I know exactly where you are. I know exactly how you feel, but I want you to know, as you look at this puzzle piece and every single person that you see here on this virtual platform, you are not by yourself. We are interconnected together. And when we get together on Saturday, April 18th at the Unlock 2026 Business Conference, anything that you felt that may have been trying to hold you back, when we're all interconnected together in that one space, something dynamic is going to happen, even leading all the way up to the 18th, because we're going to be doing more of these breakouts. We have other speakers that wasn't available today, but they're going to be on with us in February and in March, leading all the way to April. And so I'm telling you right now, this is your season to get unlocked. Last week, we was at the Maryland Center for History and Culture with some of the leaders. I know Dr. Leroy was there, and just hearing the stories from the other business owners of what unlock means to them. One young lady, she's starting a nonprofit organization. She was in the foster care system herself. She's starting an organization now. She's that puzzle piece that's now going to go back to other kids that have been overlooked. So I want to encourage you. Maybe you haven't even started your business yet, and you're saying, I don't even know the first puzzle piece to start my business. Well, all these individuals on this platform are individuals that you can follow up with, that you can talk to. If you want to reach out to SCN, give us a call, 443-799-6529. Shoot us an email, info@strategiccnetwork.com, and go to our website for more information about the conference. I'm passionate about Unlock because there was a season of my life where I felt restricted. There was a season of my life that I felt that there was barriers. There was a season of my life where I felt I was hitting the ceiling. And so I'm speaking to that person that you feel that you've hit the ceiling. You feel that there's barriers around you. This Unlock conference is not something just to be cute. It is something where we as business owners are going to come together, and we're going to bind together, and we're going to make impact in the community. That is the significant thing behind Unlock 2026. So if somebody say, I heard about this Unlock, I keep seeing this lady with all these puzzle pieces, I don't understand what these puzzle pieces are. Say that that puzzle piece is supposed to be interlocked together. And with that being said, we're going to see everybody at the top.